Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, a wonderful show for you today. I'm no longer in D.C. I'm back in town. For all of you who've been following me over the last few days of my dire straits, the last few days where things were very difficult for me, this has been the worst January in my lifetime. This has been the worst January in the history of my life. I had never seen the tribulations that I've seen this year thus far in my life. And I tell you something, the important thing about living, the important thing about life, the important thing about being is knowing that you can get right back up and move forward, is knowing that, you know what? If you are good to people, people are good to you. If you are out there doing the right things, when you are down, when you have the problems of, when you are really in dire straits, people are there for you. And I want to thank all my folk. I want to thank all the people from Politics Done Right, family, friends, everybody. Because it was tough. And what I'm going to do right now to start the program, it's all about my daughter over the last 8 days, over the last week. And of course, you guys have told you the story of my mother-in-law passing away a few weeks ago and the tribulations that she went through with the healthcare system. And of course, now with the issue with my daughter, that I'm going to play an interview that I did with my daughter in D.C. because she is a trooper. I am so proud of her. And I want to play this and then we'll get on. I tell you what, let me go ahead and start the program and then I'll play that and then we'll move on from there. Anyhow, title of the show today is, Here's My Healthcare Ordeal. Will you tell me yours? We need Medicare for all. There's no doubt about that. My daughter, Ashley Willies, got a stroke at 28 years old. 28 years old. Something I've never expected. Never expected. This was a scare of my life. It has made me that much more passionate about advocating for Medicare for all. We got to get Medicare for all. Forcing politicians to support Medicare for all first requires massive education by examples. We have to be there showing people, telling people our stories, letting people know what's been happening in our lives. That is how we are going to get the Medicare for all story out. That is how we are going to get things done. You know why? Because the plutocracy has invested. They have a vested interest in lying to you. They have a vested interest in making you fear that which you need. And we are here, independent media, to tell you, you don't have to follow, you don't have to believe, you don't have to believe those who really do not have your best interest at hand. And that's what we are here for. So folks, stay with me, hang with me. We are going to get this taken care of. We are going to get Medicare for all. You know, I find it kind of amusing because it turns out that, well, let's finish here. Forcing politicians to support Medicare for all first requires massive education by examples. I intend to tell my personal stories, because I have many, in every venue I can find. More importantly, the stories will be told in a manner that others can see themselves within them. That is how we educate, as well as allow others to infer what could happen to them based on what has happened to others. You see, most of the times people say, or people think, well, that's not going to happen to me. Or they think that's, they cannot internalize that which is happening to you to others. So what I am trying to do, I'll tell my story. I want you to tell your story. Please call 646-716-5812. Tell me your medical situation that needs to be told, something that others need to see that can happen to me as well. This evil system with beautiful buildings and beautiful offices and beautiful furniture and nice literature and the beauty of our healthcare system that most of us are paying for but cannot afford to use. So folks, please call 646-716-5812 if you have a story to tell. I want story after story. And those of you who have stories, there are times I may send you an email and say, let's get you on video. Let's get you as a part of the show so that other people within you, they can look at you and see themselves and see things that could be happening to them. That's so important because so many people think they're out there alone. So many people think that, you know what, nobody else is going through what I'm going through. And what we are here to tell you, folks, is that is not the case. There are many people going through what you are going through, and we want to be there. We want to be there for you as well. So don't despair. The program today, I want you to call 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. You have a story to tell. We have ears. You have a story to tell. We'll make sure that it gets told. You have a story to tell. We will make sure that you are heard. So I have a lot to go through, but I see I already have a call here. So what I'm going to go and do is I'll go ahead and take the call, and then we'll move on from there because this is your show. And if I have calls, I'll take the calls first, and then we'll go into what happened to my daughter. We'll go into other issues thereafter. So caller from 717, you are hot. Come on in.
Hi, Egberto. This is Lon. Calling from Pennsylvania.
Yes, talk to me, sir.
Really enjoy your show and appreciate what you do. I'm calling because at age 40, I found out that I have a condition called hydrocephalus, which means that I have too much fluid around my brain. It can come from a lot of soldiers end up with it from concussions. Can come from, sports accidents, what have you. I was apparently born with it, but somehow survived. Usually you get surgery as a baby. I survived until age 36 and found out that I had it. It took me another 4 years to find a surgeon who would end up operate on me from concussions. And from all of my surgeries and treatments, we almost went bankrupt.
Can you tell me approximately how much did all of that cost you, sir?
It was, I know, well over $160,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was just the first year in 2004. I ended up needing 3 brain surgeries. And so it turned out that I lost my job and I needed to go on disability. Had it not been for being able to go on disability and get Medicare disability benefits, we would have gone bankrupt because there's no way that we would have been able to afford the ongoing payments that would have been required for the future, because I've had another 4 surgeries since then. And it's just incredible. I mean, my wife is a physical therapist, and she knows the medical system and, how to advocate for the ongoing, with the insurance companies and all of that. But had I not had her, I don't know how anybody can go through our medical system, because the insurance companies, their job is to make sure that they pay as little as possible. And with a system like that, you can't get the care you need and be able to afford to pay for it. It's just impossible. I don't know how any average person does it. I'm just grateful that I had my wife to, guide me through it.
What was your name again, sir?
Lon,
Lon,
Lon.
let me tell you, the thing about it is there is such media out there that is attempting to misinform people, to scare people, and all of that. And one of the
Yes,
promises that I've made thus far is I will not succumb to that. And one of the reasons,
yes,
effective today, I am going to be taking all these stories and putting these stories in places where they can have maximal impact. Because in your story, there are many other people who can see that, who can live vicariously through what you are going through. And that is our intent right now,
exactly.
for people to stop listening to the corporate media, people to stop listening to those who are there lying to you and go and using
Yes,
your own ideology against your own health. So I want to thank you first of all for coming on Politics Done
thank
Right
you.
and telling us your story, sir.
Thank you, Egberto, and you keep doing what you're doing. We love you and give you all our encouragement.
Thank you, sir. You have a wonderful day, okay?
You too.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Now, folks, give us a call, 646-716-5812. That was a long story. You have a story. There are thousands of people, millions of people out there with stories. Now, while I wait along for others to call in or come by, what I want to do is I want to tell you the story. First of all, I've already told you guys the story that has happened with my mother-in-law, her death, how the private insurance sector monopolized and ripped the system off. Not her specifically immediately, but the system off, and eventually it will likely be her as well, even through death. Now, my daughter just got a stroke, and what I want to do is I want to play. She's doing a lot better, and I went to Washington D.C. this entire week to be there with her, to take care of her. My wife is out there now with her to spend this week with her. She's on her way to recovery, and we are hoping. She has problems. She has blind spots in her eyes. A whole half of her eye is blind, but she can see, and we're hoping that she makes a full recovery. But what I want to do is I want to play that for you, and then I'll come back, take more calls, and also tell you more about the story, what we intend to do. So check this out, and we'll take it on the other side. We are currently at my daughter's apartment in Washington, D.C. This is not a standard Politics Done Right show. This beautiful young lady is my daughter. And I had to fly up out here because on Saturday I get a call from my daughter that said, "Dad, I'm in the ER. I am bleeding in my brain." You know how that feels for a father. After hearing that news, I was on a plane a few hours afterwards to see my daughter. Her boyfriend, thankfully, was there giving her assistance and care, keeping her till daddy got there. It's a miracle. Ashley, why don't you tell the audience what you had, and then I want to put the politics into what we're talking about.
Excuse me if I look over a little bit wonky. I have what we call a visual deficit. I have a visual deficit, or if you want to know the real name, a homonymous hemianopsia, which means in each eye, I have one half of my visual field. So this means that if you were to look at a sheet of paper and see a picture, what I have here, I'm gonna draw it right now. These two are my eyes, right? The part that is scribbled, that scribbled part is what I do not see. That means that when I look at people, I literally see half their face. Why do I have this? Well, I was lucky enough to find out early that I have something called an AVM, or an arteriovenous malformation. What this means is that my arteries and veins formed a cluster around a structure in my brain and in your brain too, called a thalamus. Thalamus is like the powerhouse, one of the powerhouse things of the brain, right? It controls and modulates, is the better word. It modulates.
She's a third year medical student, so we are going to try to understand what she's saying. She's going to be simple though. She knows how to explain.
Yeah, so the thing is this. My thalamus, your thalamus, everybody's thalamus, it controls it kind of keeps in check what your brain's trying to tell your body and what the body's trying to tell the brain. It's like a mind-body connection. So I call like the thalamus kind of like a mini mission control, like Houston. Okay, so let's call it thalamus Houston. So I have this huge cluster of arteries and veins that are communicating with each other around my Houston in my brain. A lot of times you don't want arteries and veins communicating that much with each other because arteries have a lot of oxygen and veins do not. Veins take the deoxygenated blood, or blood that doesn't have a lot of oxygen, to the heart, and arteries take it away from the heart so to supply the rest of the body. And it does that all throughout the body. And in my brain, I have literally a cluster. I wish I could show you the picture, but it's a cluster. It looks like a knob, like a bag of worms around my thalamus that are twisted and tied. Well, because they're twisted and tied, it makes some of that tissue that the vessels are made out of kind of weak. And because I also have another thing called hypertension that is wonderfully inherited from this guy and my mom, it made me more likely for an event to happen, and the event being a burst of a vessel, which we called a hemorrhagic stroke. So when you hear stroke, you're like, oh, they have a stroke. There's two kinds of strokes. Embolytic, which means there's something plugged, which means there's a part of your brain that doesn't get oxygen. Then you have my stroke, hemorrhagic, where something bursts and blood goes out. Luckily, the blood that I have was not that much. It was like a little bloop, and it caused irritation in the fibers called the optic radiations in my head that irritated my eye nerves. And it stopped me from seeing half people's faces. Now, this is supposed to go away with time and with therapy and with work and with positivity, which actually is a real thing. Positivity is medically proven to help. Just putting that out there. So yeah, and I'm super lucky. Like how my aunt says, who's another doctor. My aunt told me, my tia, said that imagine if I was like in an airplane, right? Where simply a change in pressure. Let's say I had high blood pressure on an airplane with a change in pressure. That could have been a rupture. And then today, I recently heard that one of my friends also has an AVM, arterial venous, what I have. And she also had a stroke at my age, right? I'm 28. So it's not very common, but it happens. And she lost function of her motor. That means she can't walk anymore. So I am extremely lucky that my only deficit is my vision. I'm cognitively intact, which means I can think, I can do math. I know this is my dad. I know what day of the week it is. I know who the president is, unfortunately. Like, I have those things intact. I can move my limbs, those things are super important, and I'm very grateful that happened. But it was very scary because it did come on suddenly. So what I would end with is, don't take any little change in your health frivolously. So don't think like, oh, it's a little hypertension. A little hypertension is the silent killer of literally everyone. And so watch your diet, watch your health, exercise, do what you need to do. Because even if I had done that and my blood pressure was good, it could have happened later on down the line. They told me that this problem is usually in people who are in their 60s. However, I'm Black, and that matters. Black people tend to they're predisposed to early hypertensive emergencies and early hypertensive manifestations, meaning that it shows up earlier than everybody else.
But look, I said I wanted to take this political, not necessarily with her, because like she's a medical school student, they have to be politically neutral, all that good stuff, but not really politically neutral, but they have to be sensitive with the way they say certain things. But I tell you something, we are blessed in that my daughter is at Howard University in DC, and they had healthcare. All the med students get healthcare. And had she gone into that emergency room, and if it weren't the emergency room of the university that she went to, there's a good possibility that had she presented anywhere else, she would have had massive problems, first taken seriously based on how she had looked then. But it is so important when we sit down and talk about Medicare for all, when we sit down and talk about my daughter, yes, it's great that she got that, but it is essential that she came out of this in this state. I can say, oh my God, great, this is my daughter, and it turned out fine so far, and we are going to make sure to work with her so that she keeps her blood pressure down, so that she keeps her stress level down, and so that she's not as sometimes forceful like her daddy is. But my point here is this: every American citizen, every single one, should have the outcome my daughter had. Every single American is due that. And for those Trump supporters and all those that are standing against Medicare for all of you, if you know how I felt on that airplane waiting 10 hours before I could see my daughter's face. 10 hours. Because think about knowing that instead of 10 hours going to somebody getting care, 10 hours going to somebody who's going to die. So folks, the reason I asked my daughter to do this with me is because I am starting to tell real stories. Last month we lost our mother-in-law, her grandmother, to a stroke. Her grandmother had a stroke during dinner on Christmas at our home. When she had her stroke, Ashley, third-year medical student that she is, diagnosed her grandmother, checking pupil dilations and much more to say, yes, Dad, she had a stroke. She went into the hospital with Medicare, the old-style Medicare, and we watched the private hospital system pilfer her. We watched the private healthcare system under Medicare take advantage of a woman that was dying. And 3 weeks later, We have my daughter presented with, look, we need a better solution in healthcare in this country, Medicare for all. This is not something that we can just talk about and decide about and wait 5 years for and decide that just maybe because we don't want this democratic socialist or this socialist woman or whatever you want to call them to be a part of, to run a country, that you're going to put the lives of your friends, your families, your daughters, your daddies, your granddaughters, your sons, your cousins, and everybody at risk. It just isn't right. I am so thankful to have my daughter here with me. But folks, I want you to share this. This is so very important. I want to thank my Politics Done Right family. All of you that are subscribers, all of you that are donors, all of you that make this happen, I want to thank you so kindly. Remember this, we have to start thinking about each other. We have to start thinking about all our healthcare, our well-being, and much more. We have to be our brother's keeper. I am your brother. Ashley is your sister. We are family. And once we start to act like that as a people, we can move forward as a country. Okay, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. That is a story. That is what I dealt with last week. Last Saturday, again, it was when my daughter called me, and I immediately went up there to Washington D.C. to take care of her. I can tell you, it was the scariest time of my life. The scariest time of my life. But anyhow, folks, if you have a story, we already have one story from a kind person who called in and told us his story. If you have a story, 646-716-5812, and don't be surprised. By the way, if you also drop me a line at info@politicsdoneright.com, info@politicsdoneright.com, I will be more than happy to get you on video on the program and tabulate all these stories. I want people to see within your face what we are talking about. So those of you who are not too camera shy, I would love to have you on camera as well, telling your story and us putting it on this website that's going to be telling people's true health care stories. Because what's going on in this country is Americans are suffering in silence. Too many Americans suffer in silence. And what we find is we have the plutocracy and their mainstream media out there telling people, oh, Medicare for all would mean that you'd lose your insurance. Oh, Medicare for all will mean that you lose choice. And the reality they don't tell you is right now with private healthcare, you don't have choice. Right now with private healthcare, you choose a private healthcare who then tells you what to do. You choose a private healthcare company that says, okay, these are the doctors you can use. These are the medicines you can do. But remember, our main goal is not to take care of you as a patient. Our main goal is to satisfy the profit needs of our shareholders and to ensure that our executives get big bonuses. And how do our executives get the big bonuses? From all the premiums that you pay, we get the big bonuses and we get the profits for these companies by screwing you. By anytime you need a service, we can't pay for that. Anytime you need a medicine, we can't pay for that. Anytime you need to go to a doctor, they may go ahead and have other doctors that are out of network, and they're out of network. Guess what that means? You pay. Folks, let me tell you something. There is nothing independent. There is absolutely nothing private. I mean, going to a private company does not, or rather, a private health insurance company gives you no choice. You get a choice of who to screw you. That's what private insurance is. You have a group of choices of who best to screw you. That is what private insurance is. That is what private insurance has always been, but it has gotten worse and worse as the maximization of profits was necessary for those people who have it. So I want you guys, folks, to tell me your story. 646-716-5812. Again, the number is 646-716-5812. Give me a call. Come on air. Let's talk about it. And you know what? If you can't, if you send me an email to info@politicsdoneright.com, info@politicsdoneright.com, we can also arrange to have a video interview with you so that we can start telling Americans these stories, so that what they see on the news, what they see on ABC, CBS, MSNBC, and all these networks that continue to lie to them, who are doing the duty of the plutocracy, those folks who those folks who owned the insurance companies, those folks who depend on you being not very smart in order to continue to pilfer you, to take your money away. People think, oh well, you know what? I have great insurance right now, and as you get older and older, you realize that as you use more and more of that service, you get covered less and less, and eventually, when you completely out of money, like the young man who called before, $160,000 worth of his savings and all his money gone 1 year. Folks, we can do better than that, and it is called Medicare for All, and it is saying those people who are responsible for being a part of the system should be. Remember, I want everybody to keep this on the top of their heads, okay? This is a must to keep on the top of your head. Whenever anybody tells you that the reason we don't want Medicare for all is because we want to have private insurance companies so that you can have a choice. Punto número uno. Point number one. Remember that is not a choice. You are simply choosing who best to screw you. Remember, their loyalty is not to you. The private insurance company loyalty is not to you. Oh, when you have cheap things, you go to a doctor and they pay it, and no problem, it's just a few dollars. When you have a few medicines, they pay just a few dollars. But when it comes to anything of substance, remember what their job is. Their job is to maximize profits for their shareholders, and their job is to make sure that the executives in that company get big bonuses. If I ever tell you about staying in that hospital, both with my mother-in-law as she was dying and watching those overworked nurses 12 hours a day, they run them like slaves at that place. And the nurses don't want to say much, but I told them, you know what, I'm a national blogger that takes political activists that work a lot with Medicare for All and work a lot with what we want to see in the medical industry. And I said, I know you probably can't talk about it. She closed the door. One of them closed the door and started talking, and she says, yeah, they work us very hard. But it's not only that they work us very hard. They make us do things that we know are things we're not supposed to be doing. A good example, my mother-in-law is sleeping on her deathbed, and she has a feeding tube, and they are bringing food and food and food and food. They continuously bring her the expensive liquids that you put in that feeding tube that she's not getting. So in that room, piled up in that room, all those feeding, the food that goes into the feeding tube piling up. Who do you think is going to pay for that? You all are going to pay for that. Medicare is going to pay for that because the private companies who own the hospitals, the private companies who employ the nurses, work the nurses like slaves and abuse and continuously charge you. So when they come out there and they say, oh, well, the government can't do anything wrong, right? The government is inefficient. No, the government isn't inefficient. The private companies that the government hire to do the job, they are not only inefficient, they're thieves. And we have to start naming these things the way they really are. Government is not inefficient. What government normally does is check this out. You remember when we fought wars, the government was taking care. They build their armies, and the armies go out and fight wars. They have their own cooks and everything. All these are jobs in the military, right? But then the private sector lied to people. Oh, private sector is more efficient. So they bring the private sector in, and for each plate of food that a soldier gets, $30, $40 for each plate of food, right? If the military kept its own cooks, they don't have to do a darn thing about paying per plate. They just pay for the food, and the person who handled the mess hall takes care of business. The lie that they tell Americans over and over again, and that Americans tend to believe, is that somehow the private sector is always better. Look, I don't want to have a system where there's no private sector. My God, I had a software company. I have a software company, and my software, I develop it. I want to make a profit from it. I want to pay taxes on the profits that I make to make sure that society can continue to go on. Okay, that's what we want. That's what we want. But there are certain parts of our economy that do not belong, period, that do not belong in the market system. It does not belong there because it is inefficient. And the private companies use that to rob you blind. I have a call from 602. 602, come on in. 602, let me put you on speaker. Come on in, 602.
Hi, Egberto. It's Carrie
Carrie,
in
how are you doing
Washington.
today, my friend?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing a lot better this week. Last week was horrendous, but I'm doing a lot better.
Oh no, I'm
Well, my
sorry.
daughter got a stroke, but she's recovering very well, so I'm very happy. She's only 28, but again,
Oh my goodness.
yes, but it gave a good instance. I lost my mother-in-law about 4 weeks ago, and now my daughter gets a stroke
Oh,
last week. It's been a bad beginning of the year, but you know what? We move on, we grow, and once if you have a supportive family, a supportive set of friends, a supportive set of politics done right listeners, things are great. I had a tough time, but I had a lot
right.
of support, a lot of support.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad that your daughter is okay. I think I did hear a little part of her
Yes, she's
story
okay.
when you had her
Her
on.
eyesight is not the
She's
best, but
feeling
she's coming
grateful.
back.
Oh, yeah, I hope she continues to recover.
Thank you, Carrie. But anyway, talk to me, my friend.
Yeah, so it said, I think the headline said this is your main ordeal with healthcare.
Yes.
And did you want to say, did you have like a bullet point of like what aspect you were talking about, or
Well,
did you want me to just share
I,
my?
I just want you to share your story because what I want to know is that you see, we know that the healthcare system screws just about everybody. And we want to know what has it done
Mhm.
that you think it should have done better for you.
Right, yeah. So, this is kind of an interesting, it's a different concept for me because I, I'm a Caucasian woman in
Mm-hmm.
my early 30s, kind of middle class. I mean, we definitely weren't upper middle class. My father owns a small business, carpet cleaning, so he does like hard labor, and my mom left, when I was young, so it just maybe lower middle class.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 5 kids in my family. Well, I have a hard time kind of differentiating between my heart and my moral belief system and
Mm-hmm.
then the actuality or the reality of where we live. And I think that the latter is a narrative built by the powers that be.
Right.
And so I don't want to feed in, like, I'm not going to feed into that. And I've called you before, and I try to talk to my friends and family as much as possible about politics because politics is life. And we are living out history right now. And I try to reflect on, hey, what would I have done 100 years ago if I was around at that time? Um, so I try to, keep myself strong in that regard. Now, all of that being said, I my family's Trump supporters. I'm not. I'm a progressive, but
Mm-hmm.
so in my heart, my fundamental core is aligned with Bernie Sanders. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're just going to ask me what is my belief is that healthcare is a human right
Mm-hmm.
because that's written into America. We have the right to life, first and foremost, to life. So what does that mean? Because if you're a person who has a stroke, or you're a person who has a heart attack, or you're a person who has cancer, you cannot resolve that on your own. You must have health care to have life. You must have health care to have life. So if we're going to offer people as a country the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that fundamentally includes health care. And what we've seen over the last 100 years is that people have made a business out of it, and
Right.
we've got CEOs that are making profit off of actually denying people that right because they don't have money. And so we as a society haven't been strong enough to stand on our own moral ground and realize the lie and propaganda of the healthcare industry, of that third party for profit industry that is taking advantage of people being human. Because if you're a human, you're going to get sick and you need a doctor in order to stay alive. So I'm standing by Bernie Sanders 100% on this. His whole campaign is not me, us. His whole campaign is on this idea that, hey, they're doing this in Europe, they're doing this in Canada, they're realizing that. So if we're the greatest country in the world, then we need to realize that too. And we need to start acting like we are.
You know,
Um,
Carrie, I am
yeah.
happy, first of all, that you are young because my hope is in the young. If young people are showing the values that you are showing, which is what I am seeing here in Texas as well, then I have a lot of hope for the future of this country. There are a whole lot of centrists, and we're not even just talking Trump supporters. We're also talking Democrats, my friend. Centrist Democrats are not all that much different than those people who are following the policies supporting Trump. So what I tell people is I treat my centrist Democrats just like I treat the people who voted for Trump, the Trumpists, some of them, including my family members, my sister. I love on them. In other words, I am not going to reciprocate what they bring forth. What they bring forth is an evil that they are not aware of, and I accept the ignorance of that evil. And what I continue to do is try to open the space to allow them, to allow the real them to emerge. Because as I've always said, most people are good people. Your family that are Trumpists. I mean, forget about politics. I bet other than politics, they love you. You love them. You have fun with them. But then you get into the politics that the plutocracy has put into their minds, and they were susceptible to that politics. Suddenly things change in that domain. So what I have to say, Carrie, is this. You are a blessing to the American body politic, and just being you and promoting the message that you came on Politics Done Right and spoke about, and promoting that message even with your own family, even as they disregard it, you are planting seeds. So please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Egberto. One last point, I guess, before I go. I always do this to you, sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Just to the Trump supporters, there is a lot of media still available. You can look it up on YouTube, where Trump was saying before he was elected that he was going to provide health care to everyone.
Right.
So I just to agree and double down that, on the basis, maybe we do have a lot in common with Trump supporters.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you so kindly, Carrie. You
I'm
keep
just
listening, please. Also, please keep sharing these programs because we are fighting a media that's not in it for us. That is really nothing more than an appendage to the plutocracy. So thank you so kindly for calling in, Carrie.
Thank you, Egberto.
Have a wonderful day.
I will share it. Have a good day.
Sure. Bye-bye. That was Carrie, folks, with a prescient message as well. Hey, folks, if she was talking about Bernie Sanders, and a lot of people just thought, oh, Bernie Sanders wasn't going to do this. I want to show you right now. How scared the plutocracy is now of Bernie Sanders by playing this stuff from this is funny, from El Señor. What's his name here again? Chris Matthews. He is going berserk. Check this out. Well, let me see. It seems like I need to do a little something here in order for you to be able to listen to that. I probably have to do something with so that you can hear that, because as it is right now, I don't think I have it set for you to hear it. So let's go ahead and see, how do I get that sound coming across? I think I may have to go to the rendezvous dashboard, or to the audio mixer, probably the audio mixer. Well, not the audio mixer, but anyhow, folks, Chris Matthews is going berserk. Chris Matthews is going crazy because he believes now that somehow Bernie Sanders is going to win. But isn't that something that we all knew already? So let's go and see if I can get that going. Okay, it seems like. All right, I can't get the Chris Matthews thing to play. I should have practiced that before, but you know what? Not all the times you can get things done. So I'm sorry about that. But anyhow, Chris Matthews is going crazy. He goes on and he says he doesn't like the Democratic field anymore. He was hoping that Elizabeth Warren would have been the one who came out after all, because it seems that the progressives have the line on right now, but he doesn't see it. He's so disappointed that we have. He's so disappointed. But anyhow, let me go ahead and do a little plug here for Politics Done Right. I want to ask all my supporters to please consider visiting our store and store.politicsdoneright.com. That is store.politicsdoneright.com. If you go to store.politicsdoneright.com, you can go ahead and get that t-shirt that says, I support independent media. And why do we need that? We need that so that I can continue doing this. As you know, I'm trying to raise funds for going to South Carolina to cover. And of course, later on, we have the DNC and we also have Netroots Nation. And of course, we're completely behind. So support Politics Done Right by going to our store, store.politicsdoneright.com. And for those on podcast, if you are watching it on the screen, I have that plastered on the screen right now. We have another T-shirt that says this here, and on conventional president should be, or something like that, that we should get rid of the president. We have the president in handcuffs and a chain ball. I think it's a cute little thing. Oh, you're getting high pitch feedback. Let me go ahead and see if I can stop that. If you guys hear a feedback, just let me know, and I'll see if I can clear that up. Lawn Defender, I think is your name. If you still get that feedback, just let me know if it's gone. I think it should be gone by now. Let me know if it's gone. Let's see, what's your name? Lawn Defender Fur. Is the feedback gone? Let me know if the feedback is gone. I think it should be gone. All right. Anyhow, please go to store.politicsdoneright.com. But folks, there are other ways to support politicsdoneright.com. The way to do that is to go ahead and we need subscribers. We need subscribers that support us, and subscribing to us is very inexpensive. You can go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Become a subscriber to Politics Done Right. And you know what? We have an option that if you become a independent media warrior, you even get a web page at politicsdoneright.com. Even there, you get a web page at politicsdoneright.com. For our equipment fund, we have an equipment fund for upgrading our network, both not only here, but the ones that we use when we're in the field, like at Netroots or at the DNC or at any of the caucuses. You can go to gofundme.com/independent-media-upgrade. That again is gofundme.com/independent-media-upgrade. And of course, if you just want to contribute and not subscribe, you can contribute to paypal.me. paypal.me/politicsdoneright. paypal.me/politicsdoneright. And of course, folks, please don't forget to shop at our store, store.politicsdoneright.com. Okay, I think I'm done with that part of the program. Later on, I may come back and say, folks, please do remember that we need your support. Now, for anybody else who has a story, please feel free. Give us a call at 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Would love to hear from you because it is imperative. It is imperative. Oh, by the way, those of you who are on YouTube, If you want to be a supporter of the show, there are many ways. We have all those links in there that you can support us at, or you can just click on that $ in the YouTube message box, which is called, I think it's called a top chat or super chat. You can super chat me and say, hey, Egberto, me gusta lo que estás haciendo. Oh, Egberto, I like what you're doing. And you can super chat me by just clicking on that $ down there and just, say that you're enjoying what we're doing. Now, folks, I want to ask you, we need to get our numbers up on YouTube, number of the people who subscribe to YouTube. So if you're willing to, please go ahead and go to youtube.com/Egberto Willies. youtube.com/Egberto Willies, and just subscribe to the channel, please. You just have to click on it and you're done. That is youtube.com/Egberto Willies. Egberto is spelled EGBERTO WILLIES, one word. youtube.com/Egberto Willies. And of course, on Facebook, the parts of Facebook where I actually am able to answer and see all your messages immediately is facebook.com/politics done right. facebook.com/politics done right. Why don't you go there and like that page? That would really help us to get our numbers up so that we can have more reach. We cannot do any of this without your support. And lastly, again, please become a Patreon. Please become a Patreon. That is patreon.com/politics done right. Folks, I am going to take all these stories that I get from you. Please remember, you can send me a story. Your story, if you don't want to call and tell me your story, you can write your story at info@politicsdoneright.com. info@politicsdoneright.com. Tell me your story. And, also there's a possibility after you tell me your story, I'll email you back and say, you know what? Can I get you via remote video to do this with me? And you know what? It'll look, let me show you what it looks like. If you want to see, I'll do something like I did with Tom Hartman a few ago. See how that is right there, that you see you're in one box and I'm in the other, and we have a very smooth conversation about your story, because that is how we are going to make a difference. We are going to make a difference. One of the things about Americans, right, all of us, is that we tend to suffer in silence, right? And when I say we tend to suffer in silence, what I mean is a lot of things are happening to people all over. And what people do is they sit back and many times they are ashamed of what is happening to them, not realizing that these are things that happen to human beings. These are things that happen to Americans. These are things that happen. No shame, nothing we have to worry about, because it just happens. And we have a plutocracy that has really made this their innermost being as they extract it all from you. So there is no reason that memory, welcome aboard. Let me go and see if I have any of these things to answer. Daniel Ledo says, stories are the lazy man's political argument. It does not rely on facts. In fact, stories are the most weak kind of argument, as the stories may not even be true. Well, you know what? My story that I told about my daughter is not only true, it is verifiable. And every story that people tell me, most of the times, if I go ahead and verify, they're true. And the fact that you would say something like a story doesn't rely on facts, I don't know what you're talking about. If somebody just got out of a hospital where a doctor dinged them with a bill that shouldn't have been, or where an insurance company didn't pay a bill that they should have paid, there's nothing, that saying that there's something wrong with that story, I am sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. Dimitri OG, thank you for being here. Your story, Dimitri says, your story is the same for millions of us. It ain't working for us, and you're so right. Jacqueline Odell Clush replying to Daniel Ledo. Factual testimonies are valuable tools of information. You said it, my friend Jacqueline. Estás correcta. You're absolutely right. Demetrio G, it's better for me to be sick and working from the top. Lavender says, healthcare is a human right. You're absolutely right. People over profits and the oligarchy. Thank you, friend. You are absolutely right. And I love your hashtags. Hashtag fight for us. Hashtag together we win. I love that part. Together we win. Together we win. Lee Grant says, speaking of evil, has Bernie denounced his staff members who called for political violence, gulag, guillotines, etc.? The truth is, Lee, I don't know what you're talking about, but you know what? Your appendages say a whole lot of stuff. I will not, just like how I didn't ask Hillary Clinton, just like how I didn't ask Donald Trump to just go out there and speak out against every person that had something less than nice to say. I'm not going to ask Bernie to do that either. Otherwise, he'll spend his time because there are crazy people in every party, crazy people in or people that make their words not be the best. Okay, Memory says, Lee Grant, has Trump provided his taxes yet? Of course not. Bernie has. You're right about that, Lee. You see, he doesn't show anything because if Donald Trump was to show his taxes, what he will show the people who support him is that he's always been screwing them. While he wants them to pay their taxes, he doesn't pay his. While he wants them to work hard, he does not work hard. He is nothing more than an appendage of the plutocracy right now. Daniel, don't deny your own reality, Memory tells to Daniel Ledoux. That is so true. But folks, we are coming close to the end of the show. We have about 5 minutes left. We still have time for a couple more calls. 646-716-5812. Don't be shy. 646-716-5812. Feel free to give us a call. Feel free to write us at info@politicsdoneright.com so I can get your story. I will write your story. I will talk to you to get your story. I will do whatever is necessary so that we can have that conversation, so that America can hear that conversation. Because, folks, we cannot do this without you. We definitely cannot do this without you. So please remember, the job of independent media is to do the things that the good people in the mainstream media, and there are a lot of good people in the mainstream media, but they do not have the wherewithal to do it because they're solely owned by the advertising that must appear on their channels, and as such, they cannot they cannot spend too much time speaking badly about the pharmaceutical companies. They cannot spend a whole lot of time speaking badly about the hospital companies, the insurance companies, because their lifeblood depends on keeping those people purchasing advertising from these companies. So folks, please remember that. It is important that we do. It is important. So again, one last plug. Please go to store.politicsdoneright.com. Again, that is store.politicsdoneright.com. Support independent media. Please make sure that we are funded. Please make sure that we are funded enough to get the job done. We cannot do it without you. We also would love for you to become a Patreon, a person who supports the program, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And if you want to support our equipment fund, gofundme.com/independent what is it? It is gofundme.com/independent-media-upgrade. And of course, you can give us at paypal.me/politicsdoneright. I want to thank all the callers for calling in and telling us their story. I want to thank those of you who will be sending your story via info@politicsdoneright.com. We are going to do this together. It's not going to be easy. We are going to have everybody against us. When I say everybody, I mean the plutocracy, plus those who have been indoctrinated by the plutocracy. But you know what? Persistence always works. Nothing worth it comes easy. And the question is, will we be persistent enough? I promise you that I will be persistent in doing this with independent media. And as such, that's one of the reasons we need your support. We need your support so that we can continue doing this. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know exactly how I end this baby. I am what?